The genetic compatibility testing kiosk sat in the corner of the station's main concourse, right between a coffee shop and a clothing boutique. Jake barely noticed it most days when he walked past on his way to work at the freight logistics office. Today, however, a cheerful Thishan attendant was standing outside the kiosk, handing out promotional flyers. "Free compatibility screening," she called out. "Find your perfect match, plus receive discount coupons for participating businesses." Jake normally ignored marketing pitches, but the words discount coupons caught his attention. He'd been buying coffee from that shop every morning for 6 months. If he could get even a 10% discount, it would add up. "What kind of discount?" he asked, stopping. The attendant's face lit up. "Coffee shop participants receive a 20% discount card if you complete the full genetic compatibility screening. Also discounts at 12 other station businesses. 20%. That was significant. "And the screening is free. Completely free. It's part of our promotional launch week. We just need a simple cheek swab. You answer a brief questionnaire and you receive your results and discount card immediately." Jake checked his watch. He had 15 minutes before his shift started. "Okay, sure. Why not?" The screening process was quick: a swab of his cheek, a 10-question survey about preferences and personality traits, and a 5-minute wait while the kiosk's AI processed the data. "Here are your results," the attendant said cheerfully, handing him a datapad and a physical discount card. "You're all set. Thank you for participating." Jake pocketed the discount card without looking at the datapad, already heading toward the coffee shop. 20% off meant he could upgrade to the larger size and still save money. He didn't notice the attendant staring after him with a shocked expression. He didn't see her immediately pull out her communicator and make an urgent call. And he definitely didn't read the results on the datapad that clearly stated, "Genetic compatibility match found. 99.9% extremely rare result subject. Princess Lyrakesh of the THYSSI and Empire." Jake just got his discounted coffee and went to work, completely unaware that he'd just been identified as the genetic perfect match for one of the most important people in the galaxy. Princess Lyrakesh was having a terrible morning. "Absolutely not," she said for the third time, glaring at her mother across the formal breakfast table. "I refuse to participate in another arranged courtship. The last 5 were disasters." Queen Shurevel sighed. "Lyra, you're 26 cycles old. You need to consider bonding. The court can expect whatever they want. I'm not bonding with someone just because they have the right political connections or family lineage." Lyra stabbed at her breakfast with more force than necessary. "I want someone I'm actually compatible with. Is that so unreasonable? Which is why we enrolled you in the new genetic compatibility program," her mother said calmly. "The science is sound. Genetic matching accounts for personality compatibility, biological attraction factors, even likelihood of long-term satisfaction. If the system finds you a match, you'd at least know there's a scientific basis for compatibility. And if it doesn't find a match, Then we discuss other options. But Lyra, the system has been running for 3 months. You should check your results. Lyra pulled out her datapad reluctantly and accessed the compatibility program. She'd enrolled mostly to get her mother to stop pressuring her about arranged courtships. The odds of finding a high percentage match were astronomically low. Most people got results in the 60 to 70% range if they matched with anyone at all. She opened the results file and her eyes widened. Genetic compatibility match found. 99.9% extremely rare result subject. Jake Morrison, human, station omega 7. Lyra stared at the screen. This has to be an error. What is it? It says I have a 99.9% genetic compatibility match with some human named Jake Morrison on station omega 7. The Queen's expression shifted from concerned to fascinated. 99.9%. Lyra, that's unprecedented. The highest match I've ever heard of was 87%, and that couple has been happily bonded for 40 years. It's probably a system glitch. A human. Really. The genetic compatibility program doesn't distinguish by species. It looks at biological and psychological markers that indicate compatibility. If it says 99.9%, the science supports it. Her mother leaned forward. You wanted someone you'd be compatible with. The universe just handed you the most compatible person possible, who happens to be a random human on a frontier station. Mother, I can't just. You absolutely can. And you will. The Queen's tone became firm. I'm not ordering you to bond with him, but I am ordering you to meet him. See if the compatibility extends beyond genetic markers. If it doesn't work out, fine. But you owe it to yourself to at least investigate the possibility. Lyra wanted to argue, but her mother had a point. She'd been complaining about incompatible matches for years. Now she had a scientifically verified compatible match, and she was hesitating because he was human and lived on a frontier station. Fine, she said. I'll go to station omega 7, but I'm going incognito. If I show up as Princess Lyrakesh, everyone will treat this like a formal courtship before I even meet him. Reasonable. I'll arrange discreet transport and security. Jake's week was going pretty well. The coffee discount was working out great. He'd saved enough in 3 days to justify buying the fancy pastries too. Work was steady. His apartment wasn't falling apart, and he'd even managed to fix the glitchy climate control system himself. He was enjoying his discounted coffee on his lunch break when a Thishan woman sat down at his table. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" Jake looked up, and his brain momentarily stopped working. She was beautiful navy blue skin, silver hair, golden eyes that seemed to see right through him. Definitely Thishan nobility based on her elegant bearing and the subtle quality of her clothes. No, go ahead," Jake managed. "Thank you." She set down her own coffee and smiled. "I'm Lyra, new to the station. You seem like you know your way around. Is this coffee shop the best option, or are there better places?" "This is definitely the best." especially if you have a discount card from that genetic compatibility kiosk. Jake held up his card proudly. 20% off. Lyra's expression flickered with something Jake couldn't identify. You did the genetic compatibility screening. Just for the discount, I didn't really pay attention to the actual results. He shrugged. Figured it was marketing gimmick stuff anyway. You didn't read your results, did you? Yes, I did. Did you get matched with anyone interesting? Jake asked conversationally, taking a sip of his coffee. Lyra stared at him. You could say that. What about you? Did your results indicate any matches? No idea, I just wanted the coffee discount. Jake pulled the crumpled data pad from his bag. I think they gave me this thing, but I haven't looked at it. He was about to hand it to her when his communicator buzzed with a work emergency. Sorry, I have to take this. Freight emergency. Feel free to stay. The coffee really is good here. He rushed off, leaving the data pad on the table. Lyra picked it up carefully and activated the screen. There it was, clear as day. Genetic compatibility match found. 99.9% subject. Princess Lyrakesh of the THYSSIAN Empire. He really hadn't read it. This human had been identified as her genetic perfect match, and he'd been more interested in coffee discounts than in finding his most compatible partner in the entire galaxy. Lyra didn't know whether to be insulted or charmed. She decided on charmed when she noticed Jake had left his half-finished pastry on the table with a napkin note. Emergency. Didn't want to waste this. Enjoy if you want, Jay. Over the next week, Lyra engineered several accidental meetings with Jake. Coffee shop encounters, running into him at the station market, coincidentally needing directions in his section of the residential quarter. She learned that Jake Morrison was a logistics coordinator for freight operations. He'd grown up on Earth, came to Omega 7 3 years ago for work, and lived a simple but content life. He was funny without trying to be, genuinely kind to service staff, and seemed completely oblivious to her status or even to the fact that she was clearly engineering these meetings. You know, Jake said during their fifth, coincidental coffee shop encounter, we keep running into each other. At this point, maybe we should just plan to meet instead of pretending it's accidental. Lyra felt her face flush. You noticed. I'm oblivious about a lot of things, but even I can spot a pattern. He smiled. I'm not complaining. You're easy to talk to. Want to grab dinner tomorrow? Actual planned meeting, not coincidence. I'd like that. Their dinner date was at a modest restaurant. Nothing fancy, just good food and easy conversation. Jake talked about his work, his hobbies. Apparently he collected vintage Earth music, and his disaster of an apartment that he kept meaning to organize. Lyra, maintaining her cover as just Lyra new to the station, talked about her interest in diplomatic relations, her love of literature, and carefully edited versions of her life that removed all references to royalty. Can I ask you something personal? Jake said over dessert. Of course. Why are you on Omega 7? You're clearly educated, well-traveled, probably have better opportunities elsewhere. This is a frontier station. It's not exactly glamorous. Lyra chose her words carefully. I'm here looking for something, someone actually. I was told I might find them here. Like a friend, family member, a potential partner. She met his eyes. Someone I'm supposedly very compatible with. Jake's expression turned sympathetic. Oh, you're here for a match from that genetic compatibility thing. Did you find them? Yes, I found him. And how's it going? He doesn't know I found him yet. He never read his results. Jake laughed. Seriously, who doesn't read their compatibility results? Even if you don't believe in it, wouldn't you be curious? You'd think. But apparently some people are more interested in coffee discounts. Something in her tone made Jake pause. He looked at her carefully, then pulled out his datapad, the one from the compatibility kiosk that he'd been carrying around without ever actually checking. Lyra, did you? She watched as he activated it for the first time, watched as his eyes widened reading the results, watched as he looked from the screen to her and back again. Holy shit, he breathed. You're Princess Lyrakesh. You're the Thishan princess. And I'm your Weir. He stared at the 99.9% compatibility rating. This is real. Yes. And you've been having coffee with me and going to dinner with me while knowing all of this. I wanted to meet you as a person first, without the weight of the compatibility rating or my title influencing how we interacted. I wanted to see if we actually connected beyond what the genetics said. Jake set down the datapad carefully. Lyra, Your Highness, I'm a freight logistics coordinator. I live in a 400-square-foot apartment. I got genetic compatibility tested for a coffee discount. You're literal royalty. This doesn't make sense. The genetic compatibility program doesn't care about status or occupation. It matches based on biological and psychological factors that indicate long-term compatibility, satisfaction, and mutual growth. Lyra leaned forward. And everything I've learned about you this past week confirms what the genetics suggested. You're kind, intelligent, genuine, and you make me laugh. You don't care about status. You literally didn't know who I was and treated me like a normal person. Do you know how rare that is? But you're a 99.9% genetic match for a Thishan princess who spent years refusing arranged courtships because none of them felt right. You're someone who values coffee discounts and vintage music and doing your job well even when no one's watching. You're exactly what I've been looking for, even if you found me by accident while trying to save money on beverages. Jake laughed despite himself. This is insane. Completely. But is it unwelcome? He looked at her, really looked at her. This woman he'd been having coffee with, enjoying conversations with, finding himself thinking about between meetings. No, he said slowly, it's not unwelcome. It's terrifying and confusing, and I have no idea how this could possibly work with you being royalty and me being, well, me, but it's not unwelcome. Then we figure it out together. No pressure, no expectations beyond what we want for ourselves. We explore this compatibility and see where it leads. What about your family, your duties, the whole princess thing? My mother was the one who insisted I meet you. As for duties, being a princess means I have obligations, but it doesn't mean I can't choose my own partner, especially when that partner is a genetic perfect match. Jake ran his hand through his hair. I need to process this. You're telling me I accidentally got matched with a princess while trying to get discounted coffee. That's an accurate summary, yes. And you want to date me, actually date me, despite the massive gap in our status and circumstances. I want to explore what we might have together, yes, if you're willing. Jake looked at his datapad again at the 99.9% compatibility rating that seemed impossible and yet was backed by hard science. He looked at Lyra, this woman who was somehow both a princess and the person he'd been genuinely enjoying spending time with. Okay, he said, let's try this, but I'm keeping my coffee discount. That's non-negotiable. Lyra's laugh was bright and genuine. Deal. The next 3 months were strange, wonderful, and occasionally surreal. Lyra extended her stay on Omega-7, maintaining her incognito status while she and Jake explored their relationship. They went on dates that ranged from simple dinners to elaborate cultural events. They spent evenings in his tiny apartment listening to his vintage music collection. They talked for hours about everything and nothing, and the compatibility proved real. Not just the genetic markers, but genuine connection. They balanced each other perfectly. Where Jake was cautious and analytical, Lyra was bold and intuitive. Where she was impulsive, he was grounding. Where he doubted himself, she built him up. Where she felt the weight of expectations, he reminded her to be herself first and a princess second. Her security detail, observing from a discreet distance, reported back to the queen. The match appears genuine, Your Majesty. They complement each other remarkably well. Eventually, Lyra had to tell Jake the full truth, not just that she was a princess, but what being with her would mean. The public scrutiny, the political implications, the expectation that he'd need to integrate into royal life. I can't promise this will be easy, she said one evening in his apartment. Court politics are complicated. There will be people who object to you, human, common-born, completely outside our normal social structures. My life comes with obligations I can't escape. Jake was quiet for a moment. Can I ask you something? Anything? That genetic compatibility rating 99.9%. What does that actually mean, beyond just numbers? It means that according to every measurable factor, we're as close to perfect matches as two people can be. Biological attraction, personality compatibility, conflict resolution styles, long-term satisfaction predictors, everything. And you feel that. Beyond what the science says, Lyra took his hand. I feel it every time we talk, and I don't have to pretend to be someone I'm not. Every time you make me laugh at something absurd. Every time you challenge me to think differently or ground me when I'm being too impulsive. Yes, Jake, I feel it. Then we make it work, he said simply. I don't care about court politics or social status. I care about you. If being with you means dealing with complicated royal protocols and people who think I'm not good enough, then that's what I'll deal with. You're sure? Lyra, I got genetic compatibility tested for a 20% coffee discount. I'm clearly not great at thinking through long-term implications. He smiled. But I'm sure about you. The rest we'll figure out. The public announcement was carefully orchestrated. Princess Lyrakesh of the Thishan Empire had found her genetic compatible match. A human logistics coordinator from Station Omega-7, identified through the new compatibility program, with an unprecedented 99.9% match rating. The response was mixed. Some celebrated the validation of genetic science and cross-species compatibility. Others were scandalized that a princess was bonding with a commoner, and a human one at that. Jake handled it with surprising grace, helped by Lyra's constant support and coaching on royal protocols. "Just be yourself," she advised before his first formal court appearance. "That's who I fell for. Don't try to be who you think they want you to be." So Jake was himself, respectful but not obsequious, intelligent without pretending to be more sophisticated than he was. When a duke asked condescendingly how a freight coordinator planned to contribute to the Thishan court, Jake replied calmly, "The same way I contribute anywhere, by doing my job well, supporting the people around me and trying to make things run more efficiently. I may not have political power, but I understand logistics and I'm good at solving problems. That's got to be useful somewhere." The Duke had no good response to that. The Queen, watching the exchange, smiled. Her daughter had chosen well, genetic compatibility rating aside. The bonding ceremony happened 6 months after that first accidental coffee shop meeting. It blended Thishan traditions with human elements. Jake's family traveled from Earth, tears streaming down his mother's face as she watched her son bond with a princess. "I always knew you'd do something unexpected," his mom told him. "But this is beyond even my imagination." During the ceremony, the officiant read the genetic compatibility results aloud. 99.9% compatibility, a statistically exceptional match indicating profound biological, psychological, and temperamental alignment. Jake caught Lyra's eye and whispered, "Worth more than a coffee discount." She tried not to laugh during the solemn ceremony. Marginally. After the ceremony, at the reception, Ambassador Chen, Jake's former boss who'd been invited as a gesture of respect for his human connections, approached him. "You know," Chen said, "you're going to be studied. The human who got genetic compatibility tested for a discount and accidentally matched with a princess at 99.9%. People are going to write academic papers about this. As long as I still get my 20% off coffee, they can write whatever they want." Lyra appeared at his side, taking his hand. "Are you really still using that discount card? Are you kidding? This whole thing started because of that discount. It's sentimental now. I'm using it forever." She shook her head, smiling. "You're impossible. And yet 99.9% genetically compatible with you. What does that say about your taste?" "That I have excellent judgment, apparently." They danced together, watched by courts and cameras, a human logistics coordinator and a Thishan princess whose genetic compatibility had proven to be just the beginning of something much deeper. Later, in private, Jake asked, "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I'd actually read those results instead of just grabbing the discount card? We probably would have met eventually. The program would have notified both of us. But it wouldn't have been the same. You wouldn't have had those weeks of getting to know me without me being overwhelmed by the princess thing." "No," Lyra agreed. "Your obliviousness was actually perfect timing. You saw me as just another person before you saw me as a princess. That mattered. So my complete disinterest in the actual purpose of genetic compatibility testing worked out well." "Ironically, yes." Jake pulled her close. "Then I guess sometimes the universe rewards people who do things for the wrong reasons." "Or maybe," Lyra said, "the universe just has a sense of humor. Either way, I'm grateful you needed that coffee discount. Best 20% off I ever received, even if it did come with unexpected princess complications." "I am not a complication." "You absolutely are. But you're a 99.9% compatible complication, so I'll allow it." She kissed him to shut him up, and Jake thought that genetic compatibility testing, even when done purely for coffee discounts, was possibly the best promotional gimmick ever invented. Rated 99.9% perfect mate. He'd thought it was just a coffee discount. It turned out to be everything.